Really appreciate you taking the time to talk story with us today. So I'm Lehua La'a with Better Together, and today we've got Mike Rathbone here interviewing for Better Together, and we're so excited to have you. Mike, do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Mike Rathbone. I'm a District 51 product, graduated from Central High School. So from Central High School, I enlisted in the United States military. Went to Fort Benning School for Wayward Boys. I was an infantryman in the United States Army. And after I got out, I had kind of lost my way for a little while. And I started contracting different agencies, companies, individuals, things like that. COVID hit, and I stopped contracting, and I started working at the Grand Junction VA Medical Center. Held a few positions there in my tenure. Retired as the transportation program lead. So I oversaw the rides for veterans to and from medical appointments, as well as process mileage reimbursements. I have four beautiful, amazing children, a gorgeous fiance, and recently retired, so I get to spend a lot more time with all of them.
That is wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that. So it sounds like you've had a very illustrious career with military and serving in the VA. And now it sounds like you are also a stay-at-home parent and hockey coach. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I absolutely love being a stay-at-home parent. It's phenomenal. I get to take the kids to school, pick them up every day, and try to help them with their homework, which is always a challenge. Um, and as for a youth hockey coach, I mean, I love that sport so much. It's given so much to me, and I'm just happy to give a little bit back and get to share my love of that great game with the future of of that game. So.
That is amazing. Yeah. How did what made you decide to run for school board?
Well, I recently retired this year, and honestly, I have no political ambitions, and school board was among that list. And was approached 2 or 3 weeks after I retired and asked if I had ever thought about it. And it's something I've never done, and I'm always up for challenging myself. And if I can, help the community and help make our schools a better place, I'm all for it, especially with kids in public schools. So
That is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah,
As a product of District 51, you have attended all of your schooling through there, correct? And graduated
most of
Central High School? Most of
it,
it?
most
Okay,
of my schooling was done here. I did
nice.
graduate from Central High School. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. As a alumni of the school district,
Mhm.
what is something that you think is something that the school district is doing well, and what is something that you think can be improved upon?
They're doing a lot of things well. I think. I'm not running because they're doing horrible things, and how dare they? I'm running because I feel I bring a unique, um, not just experience but perspective. That the board currently doesn't have, and I'd like to offer that. One of the things I think they're doing really well was that free meals for all program, and they got that here, and that's great. It's an awesome program. And what I'd really love to do, if elected to the school board, is bring our community back to the schools. It just seems over time the community has kind of lost trust in our school board, and without our community, our schools are suffering. We're in that huge budget crisis, and if you look at our budget compared to other budgets, for public schools, our community involvement is extremely low.
Absolutely. I would definitely agree with that. So do you think maybe more community involvement would be something that you're more interested in trying to garner if appointed to the school board?
Oh, definitely. A strong community builds strong public schools, and without that good community support and background, your public schools aren't going to be as good as they could be.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. Um, your website lists accountability, accuracy, and action as a part of your message. What
Mhm.
does that mean? And can you give some examples as to how you will implement accountability, accuracy, and action to your plan?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're three fairly simple concepts that definitely divulge into a tremendously larger areas. So I'll give you the basics here, right? So accountability. Everybody should be accountable from the top down, and bottom up. It's not just a trickle down effect where person in administration is accountable for this and then teacher is accountable for this. Everybody is accountable for everybody. It worked in the military. I don't see why it can't work for a school district. um, Accuracy, it's you don't want to give half truths, partial information, or no information at all. And I'm a firm believer of, this is what's going on, here's everything I know, now we're on the same page, let's figure out how to make this work. And then action, nobody wants anybody that's just going to sit there and say snake oil essentially, and I'm not about that. What if I tell you I'm going to look into something and get something done? I'm going to look into it, I'm going to get something done.
I love that. Absolutely. I really, really loved how heartfelt your website is. From your website, you wrote, I learned how to lead when the stakes are real, how to shut up and listen, how to speak when it counted, and how to keep moving forward when everything around you says to stop. That mindset didn't stay in the military. I brought it home and I bring it to raising my kids. Now I'm trying to bring this to the school board because I'm done watching people treat our schools like background noise. Our kids deserve better, our teachers deserve backup, and our community deserves someone who doesn't flinch when things get hard. I really love that. I love the heart and aloha that you have in this campaign. And so I would wanted to expand a little bit more on that. How are the ways that you plan to support teachers and students so they don't feel like background noise?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, it's a school board position, so students should be your first thought. So obviously, if our students aren't getting the proper textbooks, aren't getting, the right information, or aren't receiving the information correctly, we're not doing our jobs. And then you got to look at who's giving this information to the students, and that's the teachers. And if we're not supporting those two basic concepts, right, the very foundation of our public schools, what are we doing? That's how everything collapses, is a weak foundation.
Absolutely. And so, in this, are you looking at maybe in supporting of teachers, looking at classroom sizes and the ways that teachers can support our students, maybe getting more preparation time or anything like that?
Oh, definitely. You know, I definitely wasn't the greatest student, and I know it says that on my website. And that's not just some hokey one liner. Like, I was not a great student, and it took one teacher essentially just in my corner pushing me and like, hey, come on, you can do this. And you know, not that there's not teachers doing it, but it it's just a different sense than it was when I went to District 51, where it's almost harder to get a teacher to support just one child, even if it's just a, hey, let's go, you can do this kind of thing. And I've seen it as a coach, with the youth and in this valley, and not just our valley. Like, we get kids from Montrose and up valley, from rifle, parachute to back, that come down here to play because we're the closest rank. And I've noticed just having that one adult in their corner, like, hey, you've got this, man. You just got to dig down and buckle down and figure this out. A lot of times that's all it takes, is just one adult, being in that corner. And I try to be that adult, not just for the youth teams I coach and my kids, but any kid that is struggling, if I can be there and just be like, hey, like, we got this, man. Just take a deep breath and let's focus and get going. I thoroughly enjoy that. I'm a firm believer, and you can ask my kids, my friends, my parents, my fiance, anybody you want. Anytime I see a kid, especially like a baby, I always smile, because that innocence, and I it's just a fragile thing, that innocence, and I love seeing that, and I would never want to take that away. But I also want our kids to succeed. I don't want to load them up on a fairy tale, like, oh, if you do great in school, you're going to do great in real life, because that might not always be the case. But instill that hard work, getting your work done, getting it done on time, getting it done to the best of your ability, and doing everything you can to ensure that you're doing that. That's going to set you up for life, whatever that be. College, trade school, military, politics. Whatever they decide. And in that, we don't just need to support academically. We need to support the whole student, emotionally, physically, of course, academically. Mental health is a real problem in this country. I have mental health issues myself, and there was that stigma around it when I got out of the military, that you don't go see the witch doctor. And that's what we
Mhm.
called them in the military. And so I would see our chaplain when I was in the military, and I talked to the chaplain at the VA a handful of times, and finally broke down about 6, 7 years ago and started seeing mental health there, and it's really turned my life around and made me a better person. 10 years ago, this conversation would be completely different, um,
Mhm.
but that's that's where we should be, supporting not just the academics, but supporting the entirety of the student.
The holistic way of supporting everybody and trying to
Mhm.
find that middle ground, especially when it comes to mental
Mhm.
health. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is amazing, especially with the vulnerability of talking about mental health. I know so many people right now are just in a place where they either can't afford mental health care or there's that stigmatization around it. So thank you for being brave and sharing your personal journey with that. I also really love how you were becoming the adult that you needed when you were a kid, especially in coaching and mentoring and just helping kids out along the way. That is an amazing person that I think would be a fantastic addition to our school board. That being said, there are some worries about the school board, specifically, well, not the school board, but just District 51 with mental health care. Um,
Mhm.
there are funds and grants available for something called the Second Wind Fund, which
Mhm.
provides free counseling for children, or pretty much anyone in Colorado up until the age of 18. I think it's like 6 free sessions or something like that. Um, do you foresee more need and use of therapy and mental health services within the schools?
I haven't been in a lot of schools this year, unfortunately, and it's been a good minute since I've sat in a classroom.
Mhm.
Um, I I just know from what I hear, from the kids that I coach and my own children, it seems like we're putting all this pressure on our kids to be perfect.
Mhm.
I see it a lot, especially with like youth hockey.
Mhm.
These kids have this pressure that they need to be perfect all the time and that they can't mess up and things like that. I've had kids, cry at practice because they missed a puck or they missed a shot,
Mm.
and it's like, hey, like, we're here to get better, man. If you're out here and you're bar down, ringing that crossbar, beating the goalie every time, I I'm out the job, um, so I think just putting, and I'm not saying that it's the teachers or the school district or the parents putting that pressure. I think, a lot of it is the kids putting it on
Mhm.
themselves. I know I did when I was a kid. I put a lot of pressure on myself. And, you have to have a healthy way to work through that. And, excuse me, with the just all the pressure being put on these kids. Yeah, I can see it maybe needing more. And I know that when I can't remember what they call themselves, but the partnership that we have with the Marillac Clinic currently, the Warrior Wellness Center as well as the Tiger Wellness Center, that's an option in there, and it's a relatively no cost or relatively low cost, especially for what you're getting. But those free sessions would be phenomenal for sure, and I do see a need to bring that to more than just two schools. I'd love to see it, in, all the schools, maybe not dedicated full time at the elementary school level, but somebody stopping in once or twice a week and checking on kids and being there if they need it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Well, we're just about almost out of time. Is there any other messages that you would like to share, or maybe some upcoming events that you may have with your campaign?
Let me just peek at the calendar right over here real quick because
Sure.
life is a little chaos. Um, there is a forum on Tuesday I will be at from 5:30 to 7:30, and that doesn't give us a whole lot of information. So let me look at the Google calendar, and I can give you more.
Sounds great.
Bear with me one moment here.
I would also be lost without my Google Calendar, so no worries.
I've got 8 calendars, and only two of them are really good. So
Oh
this is
gosh.
this is the Macy County Women's Group Forum at the Central Library. It'll be from 5:30 to 7:30. I'll be there, as well as Casey Cole will be there. Vicky should be there. And I believe the incumbents are going to be there too. Andrea,
Wonderful.
Will, and Angela. Um, and I really look forward to seeing them. And I absolutely I said this on the Mesa County Compass. I don't consider Andrea an opponent. I don't think she's got horrible ideas. I can't venture to say we're friends because we don't know each other that well, but we are definitely acquaintances. We want what's best for the children. We just have a different strategy on how to get there.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to save the world, but we might not agree on how to do it. It's just
Exactly.
matters on if we can come together and make things a little bit better for everybody, right?
100%.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Mike, thank you so much for joining us today. This has
Yeah,
been an
thank you
awesome
for having me.
interview. Best of luck. Ballots are coming out next month, and the due date will be November 4th. Thank you again for letting me interview you today. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
Uh, yeah, feel free to check out my website. You can email, text. I answer all of them. Um, if I'm busy, which is why I say text. If I'm busy, I won't answer, but I will get back to you as soon as I free up. And then, of course, first and foremost, I'm a dad, so I dedicate after 5 o'clock to being with my family.
Awesome. So if we need to reach out to you, your website is Mike Rathbone for d51.com, correct?
Yes, ma'am. And I believe the cell phone number to text is on there. If not, you can always email. I know for sure that one's on there.
Awesome. Reach out to Mike anytime before 5 p.m. Then his father duties after that. Mike, thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you for having me.
All right. Aloha. Beautiful.
Aloha.